You've thought about it 1,000 times. In the shower, on the drive, at 2 in the morning staring at the ceiling. The same problem, the same lap, the same 6 arguments you've already had with someone who isn't in the room. And you're no closer than you were a year ago. You're not stupid about this. You think about it more than anyone alive. And that is exactly why you're stuck. Thinking about a problem is the one thing that cannot solve it. Not because you're doing it badly, because of the shape it happens in. Thinking happens in a circle. It has no beginning and it has no end. Your mind picks the problem up, turns it over, puts it down, and picks it up again 40 minutes later at exactly the same spot. A loop doesn't finish, it just runs. Writing is a line. A sentence has to start somewhere and it has to stop somewhere. And to get from one end of it to the other, you're forced to decide what actually happened, in what order, and what you're going to do about it. 6 months in your head gets you nowhere. 15 minutes on a page gets you an answer. Your head was never built to be the container. Working memory holds about 4 things at once, maybe 5 on a good day. Your problem has a dozen moving parts. What they said, what you said, the money, the timing, the thing you're scared of, the thing you won't admit yet. So your mind does the only thing it can with a container that size. It grabs the 4 loudest pieces, runs them, drops them to reach for the rest, and grabs the same 4 again, round and round. So why do you keep running a lap that has never once paid out? Because it feels like work. It's the same furrowed brow, the same fuel, the same flatness afterward. You get up from an hour of turning it over genuinely tired, and being tired feels like you did something. Nothing came out of it. No decision. Nothing you could hand to another person and say, look, this is where I got to. But you paid full price in energy, so your brain hands you a receipt for it. Years can go by in there. You'd call it thinking it through. Matthew Lieberman put people in a scanner and showed them photographs of faces. Angry ones, frightened ones. The amygdala, the alarm system, lit up every time. Then he changed one thing about the job. Instead of just looking at the face, pick the word for it. Angry, scared. Put the picture into language. The alarm came down, compared to the people sorting those same photographs by name instead. Same faces. The word did it. They call it affect labeling, and it's why I'm scared we won't make rent in March, written on the page, is a smaller thing than whatever you've been carrying around since Sunday without a name for it. There's a reason your head won't drop it, and it isn't cruelty. Psychologists have told a story for 100 years about a waiter who could hold every unpaid order in his head and lost the lot the second the table settled up. Nobody ever tested the waiter. They did test the part that matters. Masicampo and Baumeister found that unfinished goals shove their way into your attention while you're trying to do something else. And the shoving stops when you make a plan. Not when you finish the task, when you write down when and where you'll do it. The knocking is a request for a plan. In 1986, James Pennebaker ran an experiment that sounds far too small to do anything. 46 students wrote for 15 minutes a night, 4 nights, about the hardest thing that had ever happened to them. Nobody read it. No feedback, no therapist, no advice. Months later, he pulled the campus health records, and one group stood out. Not everyone who wrote about the hard thing. The students who wrote the facts and the feelings together. The ones who put down only what happened didn't improve, and neither did the ones who put down only how they felt. It was holding the two in the same sentence that did it, and those were the only students whose doctor visits didn't climb over the next 6 months. People have been running versions of that study for 40 years. It isn't magic, and the effect is smaller than the headlines made it sound. But it keeps turning up in hundreds of studies, pointing somewhere, thinking about it never once got you. One more thing, and it's about a single word. When you write it down, stop using I. Ethan Kross found that people who write about their own problem in the third person, using their own name or just you, get less wound up than the people writing I. Same problem, same person. One pronoun different. And when Grossman and Kross looked at how well people reasoned about their own mess, the distance did that too. I don't know how to tell my mom she can't live alone anymore. Keeps you inside it. You don't know how to tell your mom she can't live alone anymore. Puts you a step back, in the chair across from yourself. And from that chair, you'd have no trouble at all telling a friend what to do. You already have the advice. You just can't hear it from in there. 15 minutes and a piece of paper. Set a timer because the ending matters. Write the problem as one sentence with a full stop on the end of it, which is much harder than it sounds. Most people can't do it on the first 3 tries. Then write what happened and how you feel about it in the same breath, because in Pennebaker's data, that was the bit that moved. The embarrassing version, not the version you'd say in a meeting. Then switch to you and write what you'd tell a friend sitting in this exact spot. Then one line, and only one, what you will do and when and where. Not a goal, a time and a place. Mean it, because the people who stopped getting the intrusive thoughts were the ones who genuinely intended to do the thing. When the timer goes off, you stop, even if you're mid-sentence. Someone's at a kitchen table at 11 at night with a cheap notebook, writing, I don't know if I should leave this job. And then just sitting there, because the sentence looks stupider on paper than it sounded in their head all year. That's usually where the notebook closes. The ones who keep going are 10 minutes from writing the thing they've never said out loud to anybody, which is that they're not frightened of leaving at all. They're frightened of finding out they weren't good enough to have stayed. And then they sit back and look at that sentence like a stranger came in and left it there. Nothing's fixed. The job is the same job. You were never going to think your way out of it. The loop has no exits, and you've spent months hunting for one inside a shape that doesn't have one. So stop trying to solve it in there. Put it on a line. Write what happened and how you feel about it in the same sentence. Say it back to yourself in the second person, and finish it with a time and a place. If you want a hand doing exactly that, it's what we built Kairo for. The timer, the sentence, the pronoun swap, the time and the place. It's the research, laid out so you can actually do it at a kitchen table on a Tuesday. So the next time your head starts to lap, don't take it. Go and get a pen. It won't fix the thing tonight, but it'll give it edges. You can't argue with fog. You can argue with a sentence.